You know how we do this on Tuesday morning. We're joined by Barbados Ambassador to CARICOM, His Excellency David Comissiong. He's brought along a beautiful woman with him this morning. Good morning, Ambassador.
Good morning, Pearson.
Good to have you as always. And good morning to you, beautiful woman.
Good morning to you, Pearson.
The name we will give you in just a moment. But I must give you, I love her daughter. Her daughter is Sophia Allsopp, who we've worked so closely together, presenting news over the years, and she's such a sweet soul. She's now plying her trade outside of our island, but she's doing very, very well. I've seen her stories all over the place, and it excites me for what Sophia is doing with her talent, indeed. And that, I think, is a credit to her parents. Her father's passed, but her mother is still here, Dr. Jeannette Allsopp. Said the name, right?
Yes.
There we go. Ambassador,
a legend in her own time.
Indeed. And she didn't even know it.
Well, I say that because how many people actually have an institution named after them in their own lifetime? Not many. So there's at the Cave campus, there's the Richard and Jeannette Allsopp Center for Caribbean Lexicography. And that is indeed what Dr. Allsopp is, a lexicographer, a very, very specialized field of study. And we are very fortunate to have not just Dr. Jeannette, but also the work of her late husband, Dr. Richard Allsopp.
Because I know when we were talking today about the Caribbean English Usage Dictionary, I remembered, oh, hold on. I'm sure I've seen the book like this before. and then I remembered, yes, Dr. Richard Allsopp, he himself had also written the book. But this, what we're having today, is the dictionary, the English usage for students as well, right? And Dr. Allsopp, talk to me a little bit about why you took this particular journey.
Okay. It starts, of course, with the Dictionary of Caribbean English Usage, which Ambassador Comissiong is holding up for you to see. But a long time ago, Richard Allsopp started that journey when he was a student at University College London, way back in the late 40s, when he went up there and realized that although he felt that he was fully versed in the English language, that something about our language from this part of the world was different. And the famous story that he always tells is that it was raining and he was in class with his fellow students, and he said, "Oh, the rain has held up." And they said, "Oh, no. Why do you say that? You should say the rain has ceased, the rain has stopped." And in addition to that, because he was doing French at the time for his first degree, he used to go over to France for the summer holidays. And he went over and said much the same thing and was wrongly rebuked by his French teacher as well. So he thought, oh no, this needs investigating. There is a difference. And so that is where the Dictionary of Caribbean English Usage started. So then it was, in a nutshell, collecting, when he went back home, collecting surreptitiously, which wouldn't be politically correct in these days, through recordings in the market, on what we call the Stelling in Guyana, the wharf, in town, in the villages, everywhere that he could, collecting sayings and putting them on cards which he stored in shoe boxes. So when he left Guyana to come here to Barbados to take up his appointment with the then College of Arts and Sciences, which became UWI Cave Hill, he brought about 10 boxes with him, with the intention originally of doing a glossary of Guyanese words and expressions. But when he came here and met so many students from all the different territories, he thought, oh, I can't only do Guyana, I have to do something for the Caribbean, the English-speaking Caribbean. And so work started, and he would send out little questionnaires and put them in boxes on campus for people to answer queries. So that's how the work started. And continued data collection. Started officially in 72 with a few grants. One from the Ford Foundation, one from the late President Forbes Burnham of Guyana, who gave a good sum of money, as it would have seemed at the time, about $357,000 US towards the startup. And of course, the government of Barbados, who granted the services of a teacher who was seconded, Audrey Burrows, from her school to work with the team. So there was that. And then as the years went on, I had known Richard for a long time, from the time I was a little girl, because I was going to a school parallel to the one he taught. I was going to the Bishop's High School. He taught at Queen's College. The Bishop's High School is the opposite of our Queen's College here. It was a girls' school at the time. Queen's College is the opposite of Harrison, and he taught at Queen's. And I was attending Bishop's, and my aunt was teaching there, and she taught French and Spanish, because she is the person who led me into the adventure with Spanish. So I knew who he was, and he was our oral examiner for A-level French. So I knew who he was. And then I lost track of him because I left Guyana and went up to UWI Mona to do my degree, and I didn't hear anything further about him. And then I returned. Actually, I returned to Guyana the year he left, because I returned in 63 and began teaching at my old school. But that same year, the University of Guyana was coming into being, and I was the only fully qualified person in Spanish, along with a colleague of mine. And the two of us were invited to start the Spanish program, write the full-time Spanish program for the University of Guyana. And we started at Queen's College, because there was no building, very much similar to the way Cave Hill started down at the harbor. So we were one of the first two people to set foot into the University of Guyana, and it moved from there. And then later on, as time went by, I think it was the early 70s, there was a linguistics conference at the university, and I saw Richard again, not having seen him for years. And subsequent to that, a few years after that, we met in the corridor at the University of Guyana, and well, I would say the rest is history, because I had no idea that he was looking for me.
This is the rest.
Yes.
This
And it really is history.
After all of that history and that love affair, which she didn't tell us about, between herself and Dr. Richard Allsopp, this is the product. After this was published initially by the it was Oxford University in 1996. So this is the product of decades of study of work, both by Dr. Richard and by Dr. Jeannette Allsopp. And it is really, I would say, about an 800-page confirmation that we possess a Caribbean civilization.
Yes.
If we had any doubt about it, this is the tangible evidence of that Caribbean civilization. Our language, and embedded within our own language is our history, our heritage, our culture, our Caribbean personality. And so it is really what we come to celebrate this morning is the child of this parent work. And this is the child of this massive work, and this is the Dictionary of Caribbean English Usage, the school edition. So this is I let Dr. Jeannette Allsopp speak more about this book, but this is basically a book that is derived from the larger Dictionary of Caribbean English Usage, and this is particularly developed for our secondary schools.
As we look at those things that bind us, the things that are similar, slight differences, but understanding of them and those differences is what cements that relationship one with the other. In CARICOM, we're all so similar in so many different ways, and we're doing that through the Dictionary of Caribbean English Usage, the school edition. And the school edition, school is at home as well. So I think in every household, it is good to have a copy of this. And so, Ambassador, when we look at the mission of CARICOM, how we bring people together, and how we are all sharing one common pot, this I think is absolutely critical at this time to have.
Oh yes, especially now with the world being the chaotic and unstable place. You spoke about something that you can't see. Well, it's so difficult for us to see our future with all of the instability around us. So we need a rock. We need something to anchor us. And we have always known that we need to anchor ourselves in our own region, our own Caribbean civilization. And so how do we impart that to our children? How do we impart that to ourselves? Language is so critical because, as I said, language is the repository. Language doesn't come out of a vacuum. It comes out of your history, your heritage, your culture. So by teaching and learning about the language, you are learning about all of that, your history, your heritage, and culture. And so Dr. Allsopp and the late Wendy Griffith Watson produced this for our school system, and she has charged me with delivering copies of this book to all of the heads of government of CARICOM, not just the full member states, but she has extended the gifts also to the associate member states. So that is where I come in. But I'm happy to have Dr. Allsopp with me because she can speak even more authoritatively than I can about the wonders of this book. But I want viewers to know that it's really a very beautiful text, full of photographs, very attractive, and it covers a whole range of things that will be of great interest to our students.
We know it as the fat pork. But it's also called the cocoa plum.
Cocoa plum, yeah.
Wow. I mean, we know ackee. They call it gidit in some other places. But ackee is also the word we use in Jamaica.
In Jamaica for that fruit that is poisonous before ripe, and then when it ripens, you can make a beautiful dish with it, and they make ackee and saltfish.
And if I look into the general vocabulary section of this book, I see a word called foodist, and I was wondering, Pearson, whether you might be a foodist.
Perhaps in my youth, but not these days at the moment. But it breaks it up because this broadens our understanding and appreciation. It eases conversation, but it also educates as it goes. And so sometimes we encounter language which we understand, and then there are times which cause us to raise a question mark. And so this dictionary, the usage of it helps us to be able to communicate more easily one with the other in the region. So talk to me about, you've broken it down into a number of sections.
Yes, let me talk to you about why it has come into being and why we had the idea to do it. As you can see, this book, the original book, Dictionary of Caribbean English Usage, is quite massive. It is also a general dictionary, so it does not break anything down into themes or topics. It is linguistically complex and sophisticated, and so while we were doing it, and I was helping Richard with the compilation, we had a number of discussions, and we said, even before I started in the work, he had thought that this is just not possible for schools. So we have to have a school edition. So we discussed this idea, and before he passed away, because we had done this dictionary, and then I had done my multilingual dictionary of flora, fauna, foods in 2003. And he said to me, well, you know, you're carrying on the work. You know more than anybody else about it. You have been fully involved in it for years. So would you make sure that you produce the school edition? And I said, yes, it's a promise, I will do it. And so I worked at it, not immediately because he passed away in 2009. I think I started work on this in 2013. And at the time that I started, and the way in which Wendy Griffith Watson comes in, we had a team when we were doing the DCEU, as I call it, of people working, doing various tasks part-time. And I was the head of that team. And Wendy was our friend. We knew her. She had been a graduate student when I met her doing her master's. So Richard had introduced her to me. And then when we thought about who could be part of the team, we automatically thought of her. So she was a part of my team of item writers who helped to draft manuscript, and then it would be perfected by Richard and so on. So at that time, Wendy was going through a health crisis, and she said to me, look, I don't know how much longer I'll be around, but I really would like to get my head around something that helps me to use my brain. And I said, oh, well, great, because I'm about to start the school edition and organize it. So you can join me in that, and don't worry about it, because I know what has to be done. I know how to do it. So, you know, you will just be going along with me, but you will still be able to give me your opinions, critiques, etc. And so we started. I went through the whole of the DCEU, broke it down into themes. And I'll tell you why I did that, because a school dictionary needs to appeal to the children to whom it is directed. And so you have to think about their learning processes. And one of my hats is that I'm a teacher trainer in English and foreign languages, so I know this very well. And so I thought, well, instead of the general approach, let's do it in themes, because I had already started that approach in the multilingual dictionary. So I broke it all down into themes: flora, fauna, foods, festivals, folklore, religion,
clothing,
children's games, etc., etc. And then there was the whole question of the acronyms and abbreviations for Caribbean organizations and associations. And I felt that that really deserved special mention. And although I did not use Richard's approach in going deeply into the idiomatic phrases, I gave some, as you'll see at the back of the book,
Yes.
as examples, because one of the things that really makes Caribbean English extremely rich is the phrases, the idiomatic phrases, the proverbs.
like do Dixie, for example.
Do Dixie.
Do Dixie.
Yes.
Yeah.
I see it.
And the whole way in which compound words are put together: foot, bottom, neck, back, hand, middle, and so on and so forth. So I had used that approach and then went into the various themes, but of course each theme is arranged alphabetically so that it's easy for you to find what you want. And started the compilation, simplified everything, took out what needed to be taken out, and also included a few things that may seem to be more sort of in the sphere of internationally accepted English, as we call it, which is English, world English across the globe, of which there are several varieties depending on the territory in which it is spoken.
Right.
Went into some of that for the benefit of the students. So the whole thing is a teaching tool.
Yes.
And the thing that I wanted in particular, because Caribbean English is so rich, is that it should go across the subject areas. So it's not only for the language arts class, It's also for social studies. If you're teaching geography, which is not much taught now in schools, you can use it. If you're looking at sort of general current affairs, you can use it. So it goes across the disciplines. And that's why I added at the back a list of what are called dictionary skills,
Yes.
showing the teachers and the students how to use the book, as well as how to get fun, have fun using it.
Yes.
Because you can do word searches, you can do all kinds of things, riddles, word games, etc., etc. And you remember when we had our spelling bee.
Of course.
How interesting that was.
Of course.
And this book was given as a prize.
This is so comprehensive, folks. So very, very, very comprehensive. And it's really a must-have, I think, in not just in schools alone, but in every household. Because at some point in time, we will encounter someone else from the Caribbean region. We need to understand each other more. And as Ambassador Comissiong says, in this is our life. Our life lived through generations of people. And so understanding how we talk, understanding how we act, and getting different phrases as well that help us to be able to share easily one with the other, is all of that's contained in this one indeed. And so Ambassador, I know very soon you'll be making presentations to different heads as well. And so when do you think?
Well, I mean, I'm traveling to St. Kitts tomorrow for the Council of Foreign Relations, Foreign and Community Relations, COFCO as we call it. And I'll take some of the books with me, because I think through the foreign ministers, I can, get them conveyed to some of the heads. So yes, I'm very pleased to be doing this, because the hope is that by presenting copies to the different heads of government, that will help in getting these books in the school system, not only in Barbados, but right across the Caribbean community.
Absolutely.
And as Prime Minister says, we need to aspire to be global citizens, but with deep Caribbean, Bajan, in the case of Barbados, but across the region, deep Caribbean roots. This will help in that mission.
All right, and this is called The Dictionary of Caribbean English Usage, the school edition by Jeannette Allsopp and Wendy Griffith Watson. And so we want to commend this book to you. Ambassador, we have to leave it there, but thank you as always for engaging us in these deep, rich conversations on CARICOM. And Dr. Jeannette, as always, good to have you company. And you've shared so beautifully your story, but you've also shared the publication, through the publication of this, all that you've been able to do so far. And I know there's a lot more for you still to compile. So I wish you well.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
You're very welcome.
And thank you to Ambassador for
my pleasure.
Organizing this. I really am happy to have been able to come and talk to you a little about it. I could go on and on and on.
That we perhaps can do another time.
Yes.
But I thank you all indeed.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning.